All right. I think everything's working. Let's see if I can nail this in a single take. Hey guys, this is my story of how I met Mike V as a little kid. So I first met Mike V in the year 2000. I was in year 6, which is the end of primary school in Australia for all you American kids. And then we go into high school, which I think you guys call secondary school, and then like college, which is like from like 18 sort of onwards. But we don't kind of do college as much over here, I guess. But I went to college, but you know, it's kind of one of those things where you just get a bit of paper. But I guess you can like learn those things out in the world if you're interested enough or whatever. But anyway, I digress. I met him in 2000, it was my last year of primary school, and I had friends that were a lot older than I was at that time. I moved around a lot, and I was only in this town that I was living in for a couple of years. And I remember in the first year, there was a thing called the Black Label versus Decker Tour, which was a skate tour of all the Black Label skaters and all the Decker skaters came to Australia, and it was like Mike V and Day One Song and like JB Gillett and I think Neil Mims and some other dudes were skating in as well, but they were coming to Canberra. And at the time I lived out in Tumut, which is like 2.5 hours away from Canberra, but my friends had their Ps, which is like your early license. And so we all jumped in the cars and we went over to Canberra, and they did a demo at Western Creek Skate Park, which I went on to skate like years later. And but first they did a signing at the local skate store in Civic, which is like, I think it was PSC. I could be wrong, but it was in like a corner block somewhere in Civic. It wasn't sort of central, but PSC skateboards. I think that was what they were called, but they put it on, and everyone was in there signing, and I was only 12, and all my friends were like 17 and 18, and so I was the youngest of the crew, and they were doing like, you know, where they throw away stickers and shirts and all that kind of stuff and sign stuff, and I was such a timid little kid, and I just wanted Mike Vallely's signature, because I always thought he was the coolest of all the skaters, and I still do. And so when I finally got the chance to get up to the barrier and see him, I handed him this Neil Mims Decker postcard that had been thrown at me, and like, I was always taught that like something that's not yours you don't pick up and that kind of thing. So I was super sort of, timid. And I had this and I took it up to him and he signed it. And that was the first time like that I got his signature. And as I was standing there and he asked me how I was, and he could see that I was not distressed, but like I wasn't used to there being like because kids and people just going nuts everywhere, like for grabbing shirts and it was just wild. And a sticker came flying down out of the like air and landed right in front of me, like while I was there with Mike. And he was like, "You should take that, man. That's for you." Like, and I did. I grabbed it and I took it home, and like I just couldn't believe it. And then I went and saw him skate, and I've looked for footage, and I looked all over YouTube, and I could have sworn I'd seen footage of it before, but that tour is like impossible to find footage of. But Mike went up in Western Creek and he does this massive air up on like out of a quarter pipe, this maybe 4 or 5 foot, onto the fence of another quarter pipe that's much higher. And he goes up 50-50s it and sort of pulls back in. And like he did this for 3 hours, like trying to like nail it. And he's like bloodied up, and he was like, everyone else had stopped skating. Everyone was just watching him. And like I'd never seen, like I was a little kid, I'd never seen anything like that where a person just went to war like for something that they were passionate about. And he got it eventually, he nailed it, and like everyone went off, all the crowd went off and stuff. It was incredible, but I'll never forget it. And I've kept this like over 20 years now, and it means the world to me. It's one of my most cherished possessions, it really is. I'll never be able to thank Mike enough for that, because it like changed my life as a little kid. It kind of like showed me that, you know, things weren't just going to happen, that, you know, I had to go out there and make it happen. And if I wanted to be better at skateboarding, which I was obsessed with at that age, it meant the world to me, it really did. And it was funny that years later, when I had my head injury and I started to sort of advocate to wear helmets, that I reached out to Mike about it, and he wrote this like incredible, like the most beautiful thing, sort of advocating on behalf of me on his Instagram page, with a photo of me with the massive scars all over my head and stuff, sort of talking about how, and he should have been a journalist. I mean, I've watched him do poetry from when he's like 16, which is incredible. Like he's, yeah. And I went, and before that, I went and saw him play with Black Flag when he toured in Australia. Again, weird because he's an American. When he toured in Australia with Black Flag, and he was playing with his band, and it was Black Flag, I think Descendants, maybe Descendants, and his band. And I know that Black Flag, the singer, like was really not having a good time, and Mike ended up coming out and singing. And I didn't even realize his band was there. And then I look up on stage and I was like, is that Mike Vallely? Holy crap, it is. Like, it blew my mind. Like, yeah, so then I saw him at this show, and then, yeah, we spoke on Instagram when I had my head injury and just sort of advocating about helmet use, and he was doing the same thing, and it sort of empowered me to get back on the board, because I struggled for like years after that to get back on the board. So that was another just bizarre moment where he had this little like these touchstones of Mike V in my life, which is just hilarious. But yeah, that's basically my story. I just wanted to tell it because he's been such a big part of my life, unknowingly, like had such a huge impact on me and how I act and how I hold myself and all of the things I do, like with skateboarding and with music. And yeah, I just thought that was a cool story and it was worth telling, particularly for, you know, considering I was a 12-year-old kid in Australia. And I didn't even mention Day One Song, but holy cow, to see that guy live is like a whole nother thing. It's a whole nother thing. And that was over 20 years ago. Maybe I'll make that another video. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed my story. Have a good one.